Well, hello, everybody. Glad you're with us here today on a Wednesday. Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Barry, I got 12 Bud Lights sitting out in the snow, getting ice cold. Man, later today, those things are going to taste great. Cannot
Yep,
wait.
because I don't know exactly how it is up there, but I'm telling you, down here, there ain't going to be a whole lot to do all day except maybe enjoy a Bud
Yeah,
Light or two. John is
that's
at
my plan.
Network Control in Montgomery. I'm down in Troy, and you can kind of tell at my office window here. Man, there's snow everywhere down here, at least 4 inches at my house. I mean, you can't tell the
Wow.
road from my yard, and whew, I don't know if I've seen this much snow in Alabama in all of my many years of living here. It's crazy down here in the South right now. And really, I don't know. Theotis, catch us up with what it's like up in Huntsville or something, because I mean, where I live and south of here, I mean, there is snow everywhere. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Barry, it's south. Montgomery kind of, it started after lunch, I guess, a little bit
Yeah.
before lunch. Nothing really big time. The most that hit the ground and stayed was after lunch, 2 o'clock-ish or so. But, man, some of these reports I'm seeing out of New Orleans, of all places, and Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Pensacola, Milton, areas like that, Panama City, and then,
Yeah.
they're just getting just dumped on down there. And, I was thinking back. I remember when I was in third grade and my parents dropped me off at school and didn't really know anything about snow or if it was coming or anything like that. And the next thing I know, it starts snowing 10 minutes later, and they're probably probably 6-8 inches on the ground. Come pick us up, school's out. And it was snowing, I think, as far south as, Gainesville and maybe even Orlando that day when it snowed so much here in Montgomery. That was probably 1973 or 4, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I mean, it just was unbelievable how much snow was here, but I don't ever remember it being any further really south than Montgomery and accumulating like it has been.
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been unbelievable. And, overnight lows down around 13 or 14 degrees. All I'm telling you guys, reason why we're telling you this, again, see if I can turn this around just a little bit. That's out my window right there. And I mean, it is snow everywhere outside. I mean, literally everywhere. Main reason we're telling you this, especially if you're watching our live show, is ain't no reason to be out there.
No.
I mean, sit at the house, watch the world go by. That we can make it without you at the office or at school or anything today. If you have to be out, hey, be very careful out there. It's also the time whenever we really like to thank the first responders and the utilities people and the people who the law enforcement officers. A lot of you guys are having to be out there. So hey, thank you for that. But for the rest of us, for the general population, just hang out. I mean, you can put Longshore and McKnight on loop all day and just hang out and reflect on life and enjoy the heating and the and the light and the warmth and the blanket or two.
I got to call Kenny today at River Region Straw. I went through a lot of wood yesterday. Woo, man, I'm telling you, I had the fire burning all day long and throughout the evening. And I need some more wood, Kenny. So I'll be calling you later. For that delivery. Yeah, they'll deliver it and stack it for you at River Region Straw. Plenty of seasoned firewood to keep you warm, and it's going to be cold for many days to go. So make sure Kenny and his staff are heating you up, warming you up. Call them today or text 669-5959, and that firewood will be there to you, and it'll keep you warm. And I was there again. I'm watching the Tide and the Commodores last night, and every now and then I'm having to sneak outside and go get another log. And woo! Man, it was cold out there.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. This is the one day when John doesn't have to look down in his studio and the cat's bugging the heck out of him that outside. The cat's like, "No, I'm good. Hey, I'm fine over here by the fire." we always used to kid each other and on the air in our career in radio, because we always used to joke around that, I mean, there'd be 4 snowflakes in Pintlala, and people would start calling in the morning. So the radio say, "Hey, is school closed? What are the roads like? Are the roads closed?" Um, People in Alabama would tend to sort of lose their minds whenever there was
Well,
a
Barry,
snowflake or two out there. We
it
used to have
reminds
people
me.
that worked in radio that would go screaming up and down the hallways, and gentlemen
Well,
be like,
yeah.
"Settle down, come on."
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Every time something like this happens, I just remember FM music radio DJ guy running up down the hall. It's gonna snow. It's gonna
It's
snow.
fine.
And I'm thinking, really? I
Come
mean,
on.
yeah.
I don't
But
know. Well,
yeah,
so
a lot of
you get people on social media that, and we were looking at social media yesterday, my wife Dee and I, just looking at pictures. Basically, we got to go out early in the day, and kind of look around before the snow got really deep, and people are out there, and students at Troy, or they've got like, well, I wish had correctly gotten the video. There was some guys at Troy who had gotten out in one of the big parking lots with their as a matter of fact, it was a Ford F-150.
Sure it was. Heck
And
yeah.
they had some sort of a cable or a big rope tied to their hitch, and they had the other end tied to this one kid in a laundry basket. And I had it videoed, and for some reason the video stopped, and they take off in that parking lot, and they do like a donut, and that kid in the laundry basket.
Oh,
It was crazy. But you see on social media, there was one last night, my wife was laughing. A lady says, "Hey, do you know if DoorDash is working tonight?" And I mean, it's like 5-6 inches of snow out there. She says, "I'm just really scared to go out and get food right now." Somebody underneath it, they posted, they said, "Don't you have a stove?
yeah. No kidding. I mean,
Can't you open up a can of beans, or you've got bread or something? Come on."
should have thought about that before the snow hit. They kind of
exactly
let you know
right.
it was coming. You got to go to the store before that. But yeah, thanks to everybody this morning. Good morning to all. We appreciate that on our River Region Straw chat line. Ty with the first good morning today. We appreciate that. Talking about Milton, Florida, 9 inches. Been through Milton, Florida many a time.
Oh, yeah.
The pictures from New Orleans are just amazing. Bourbon Street, the French Quarter, people skiing down the street. That was amazing. Theotis, can't figure out why it didn't snow in Huntsville. Well, those things do happen. Bill in Baltimore said he grew up in Milton, Florida. Know where Milton is. Right there near Pensacola.
Hometown of former Auburn quarterback Reggie Slack.
Barry, every time I went through there, I thought about that. Now, was that Milton or it was Gulf Breeze I was talking about, but Milton, you're right. He was from Milton.
I know 2 people from Milton, and it's not too far from where I live. Reggie Slack was one of them, and former Troy place kicker and New York Giants place kicker Lawrence Tynes. They're from Milton, Florida. You bring this up, and it seems as though we're starting to get a read on things. I don't know whether or not there was an appearance by the Butler County Commodore Club last night at Coleman Coliseum, showing their gold as Alabama got into another shootout. They score this. They hit the century mark again last night in men's basketball. They beat Vanderbilt at Coleman Coliseum 103-87. That's 2 straight games of 100. And look, that's kind of the way it's going to be. Aiden Holloway scored 22. Mohamed Diobate scored 22. This is not a terrific defensive team at Alabama. So get your seatbelts, because I mean, you're gonna see games like this, John.
I thought the same thing, and they got over the century mark. Well, I think about less than a minute to go, the crowd went wild. Or what crowd that was there? Noticed a lot of empty seats, and I know there was some weather issues. I know some people from Montgomery that have seats low near the floor were not there, and I can certainly understand why they were not. But I thought the same thing, Barry. I mean, great that they scored over 100. but the team you're playing scored 87. There again, is that what Bama fans in for from now on out? We're just going to run and gun and have a shootout, and hopefully we're hot and we get over 100 points, and we don't really care how many points the other team scores. Just make sure they don't score more than we do.
Other than the wins, I mean, it's an apex for Alabama basketball right now. Other than the wins, which would you rather watch? This style of basketball or Anthony Grant? Which was a defensive obsession with him. Great coach, great guy, but a 57-51 game or a 103-87 game? Which one seems to be the one that might, I don't know, bring you back to situate yourself in another seat at Coleman Coliseum on another day?
And maybe just because every game's on TV, that used to not be the case, a pre-SEC network, but there's no doubt. I don't want to see a dribbling exhibition. I don't want to see a bunch of defense. I mean, it's kind of like me in baseball. I don't want to see a 1-0 game. I don't want to see a pitcher, throwing a no-hitter or striking out 20 guys. I want balls hitting the corners and going over the fence and double plays. And that's the same thing with basketball. I mean, I guess that's why I like the NBA a little bit, because they ain't playing any defense.
This brings back the old Longshore Church League legends of defense is what you play to get the ball out of the basket so you can throw it back down to John so he can shoot again.
Sure.
I can't even form the mental picture in my mind of John and his boys sitting up there in the stands and John saying, ooh, look at that. Now that's a defensive stance. That's how you get down on defense. Look at him switching off of that screen. Oh man, that's great. No, ain't nobody saying that at all. You're not talking with your buddies about your glory days back in high school and thinking, man, I have never seen anybody box out on a rebound better than Fred did. Boy, he was the best boxer outer I ever saw.
Right.
No, nobody mentions about the legends of, man, boy, his help side defense. I'm telling you guys, amazing.
Maybe in all the sports, football is really the only one I can think of where people talk about defense. Oh man, they dominated. Shut down corners, that D line with that O line. Those linebackers were all in that quarterback's face. You don't seem to hear that in other sports. But yeah, I mean, I'm there to see him shoot. I'm there to see him run up down the floor, make good passes. And another thing about pre-Nate Oates, it was passing the ball around too much, dribbling too much. Just shoot the thing. And Oates seems to, that's his philosophy. Get down there and shoot it. Yeah. And you need to be either 2 feet from the bucket or 22 feet from the bucket.
See, and that's what Bama fans used to embody at the arena, because every time Lawson Schaefer handled the ball, every time Sam Hagenas handled the ball, you know what everybody'd say? Shoot!
Oh, exactly.
Shoot. Yeah,
no doubt.
That's where their hearts were.
When my son's in a game, I have to control myself, but my inner John Longshore is going, shoot the ball. I don't want to scream it out and sound like one of those parents, but I get in the car and go, son, man, when you get the ball in your hand, you got to shoot, man. What are you doing passing it? He looks at me like, huh? And I'm thinking, shoot it. Are you my son? Come on. I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's unbelievable.
Here, yes.
I do want to mention this, Barry. We didn't mention it yesterday because we were so busy. Somebody in the SEC offices are listening. They're paying attention.
Not enough, but some.
Because as I'm watching the game Saturday, and it was Saturday morning when I watched it, about 9 o'clock out in California. It didn't take me long to figure out, whoa, they're letting them play today. My kind of basketball. Physical, some bumping, maybe some fouls under the bucket they let slide. I'm thinking, now this is what I want to see.
Yeah.
Not a lot of whistles.
Unless John is the one getting fouled.
Which that doesn't take much.
Yeah, no kidding.
A little brush, a little tap, a flop on the floor. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. When we come, they got a lot of basketball today
Yeah.
and some football, too. There's plenty to talk about today. Men's basketball coach Scott Cross at Troy University. Some huge games this week we're going to talk with the coach about in just a moment. CJ Duncan. He's fast becoming one of my absolute favorites, John.
Yep.
To join
He'll
us.
be with us in about 15 minutes, actually. So we'll get CJ Duncan from Yellowhammer News on with us here this morning. Really more interested in his thoughts on the game Monday night in Atlanta, Ohio State winning the Natty against Notre Dame. So we'll talk with CJ about that. And as Barry mentioned, we're glad you're with us here this morning. Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Of course, we're right here on YouTube. We're on the Yellowhammer News link as well. You can go to yellowhammernews.com and watch us that way. Of course, Spotify, Instagram, you name it, we're there. And we greatly appreciate you subscribing and liking what we do, and tell all your friends and associates about Longshore McKnight. We'd really appreciate that, and really appreciate all of the comments we're getting. People that check us out through their Bluetooth in their audio system in their vehicle and listen to us as they used to listen to us, kind of in their car on a radio. You can still do that through your Bluetooth. Yeah,
we've got a lot to get to, and we're glad you're along with us here in the snow. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. The Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, here we are back at it, about 18 minutes past the hour of the first hour here today. Really appreciate you joining us on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bear, I just got, I got it late yesterday afternoon, the official results from the accounting firm to make sure everything was done on the with all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, everything double checked. And we have a winner in the Longshore and McKnight Bowl prediction contest. And I get it. It took a minute. This bowl season, you've been hearing me talk about it. I'm hearing more people talk about it. Heard some guys yesterday on ESPN talking about it. Heard my man Cowherd was having a lunch with Cowherd. And, they were talking. Says too long. I got to get the schedule condensed.
Yep.
Get it.
Little ham sandwich with Cowherd. It's become a tradition here.
Yeah. Klatt was saying it. He thinks it's too long.
Well, Klatt's been saying it. He said it since it's happened. Klatt is team move the schedule forward, start, the last full weekend in August and just play in the heat rather than have your championship game kind of lost in the NFL divisional round playoff.
Yep. And I get it. It's hot in early August. I mean, isn't it hot till about really October 1st?
Yeah.
I mean,
even afterwards, most times.
Yeah. That first month is still pretty rough. All right. So here is the big news. With a total of 62 points, and of course you get points by the number of wins you have in round 1, round 2, round 3, and round 4, broken up into 4 rounds.
Yep.
And with a total of 62 points, with I guess a pretty big lead, Barry, because the second place finisher had 57. But with 62 total points,
yes,
C.D. Powell is our winner. C.D. Powell is the winner. So, C.D., if you will email Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com, we will get in touch with you and let you know about your prizes and all that kind of good stuff. C.D. Powell, and he edged out a young man that went to high school with my daughter.
Okay.
Should we reveal who came in second place?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The first loser is
Hannon B. Hannon B., who I believe lives down in Gulf Shores now. Went to school with my number 2 child, daughter number 2, and Hannon finished in second. In third, our man Curtis. Curtis came in third. Wow. At one point, really? I think Curtis was leading.
Yeah, I think I remember. I had forgotten about Curtis being up at the top. How about him, huh?
Curtis, yeah. Then we had a guy that entered as 80862. Now, I know Van Halen had an album with numbers on it, OU 812, I think, but I don't know what 80862.
Oh, I got it.
Don't know that one.
It's somebody who was born on August the 8th, 1962.
Yeah,
gotta be.
There you have it.
Gotta be, right? That's what
MSU Dog came in 5th. I wonder if that was little Michael Henning. Did he play in 1994? Because that's what it says. So maybe that's him. Who knows? Tin Cup, good movie, came in 6th.
Yeah.
Steve Wooden came in 7. Brent 6 RTR came in 8. Big Lou 77. I know Big Lou, who was leading at one time.
I
seen him a text.
Early. Yes.
Barry, he grew up in Troy, as a matter of fact. Big Lou 77.
Okay.
And then rounding out the top 10, MMS Flagman 11. These names are hilarious.
Oh, MMS.
Unlucky number 13, Chris the Bammer. Oh, number 13 got you, Chris.
Yeah.
LSU Mark came in at 20. See if he go Aubie at 26. How about that?
So those are your tops right there. John has recent experience, like real recent experience with this. Our winner gets a travel voucher.
Yes.
Montgomery Regional Airport. John, when's the last time you have gone in through Montgomery Regional Airport, breached through security, and started heading for your gate, which is right there?
Oh, yeah. Well, I stopped and got some coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
When's the last time you didn't stop? What's the name of that coffee shop again? Because John's got time. I mean, there's no sprinting through a long terminal hoping that, you're going to make it up. You just breeze on over to your gate and situate yourself, hot cup of coffee and everything.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it depends on what time of day it is, because if it's after lunch, I usually go down to runway 28 and get a Bud Light as I'm waiting to board. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, Barry, I left out of there a week ago tomorrow, and I got back on Monday, and it was great. It was very easy, hassle-free, parked right there at the terminal, checked in, went to my gate area and we were good to go. So yeah, very, very convenient. I know, I will say this, Barry, I know there's been some travel delays, obviously around the South from Houston all the way to Savannah. So I know that you need to check your flights and your timing, because obviously things are a little slow, a little behind yesterday and today due to the weather, but you'll get to where you're going. Just plan accordingly. Matter of fact, I've got to check with our friends at MGM. We're scheduled to be out there tomorrow, but it kind of depends on what is the deal? What's the story? I mean, I don't think this stuff's going to be melting today, is it?
I don't either. I may have a hard time getting out in the morning. We may. I'm open next week, so we may. We may check down. We may Omaha, and do something else. But yeah, it's going to be around for a little while. I don't think it's going to snow much anymore, at least not where I am. But the snow that's already there may be a problem. As a matter of fact, it's probably playing havoc with practice times for Troy men's basketball, or just trying to get everybody together and get everybody accounted for.
What
because
about
the campus is socked in right now? That's one of the reasons we're kind of in a holding pattern for Scott Cross right now. So.
Well, what about teams getting to Troy?
Yeah. Southern Miss comes in on Thursday, which means that they would travel today, and it's iffy. I haven't heard anything. There hasn't been any official announcement from anybody as of yet, but gosh, like tonight, for instance. Again, Troy plays tomorrow at home. There's no travel, but Southern Miss has got to get here. Tonight, Florida's scheduled to go to South Carolina. What's it like in Gainesville to travel? Ole Miss at home against Texas A&M. Georgia at Arkansas.
Barry,
we haven't heard anything about those. And I mean, a lot of the northern schools have to deal with this a lot more than we do. But then again, they're a lot more, they've got more equipment. They're a little bit more well-versed in all of this.
I don't know. To me, I would think like Tulane and Houston are in the biggest mess.
Yeah.
Of trying to get out. I was watching an interview. I think it was the mayor of Lake Charles, Louisiana. They might have got more than anybody. Yeah. And the guy said, listen, we don't have the equipment. We don't have the salt. We got to let this stuff melt. I mean, I just got to tell you.
And it's not
it's going to be here.
I mean, it's not something you're going to buy every year, or you're going to have equipment sitting by for something like this, which happens, about every 7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense as of there. My buddy Gary Gallant is watching Longshore McKnight with 4 inches of snow in Panama City Beach. He said he walked the beach, and it was beautiful. You're thinking, why is he walking the beach? Well, he's from Canada. This is no big deal to him. Glad we bought our winter wear for Colorado's visit, though. Chuckling at the response to this amount of snow. Yeah, he's from Amherstburg, Ontario, Canada. Listens to the show all the time. Great friend of mine. This kind of snow is amusing to him.
Sure.
I mean, they're in Canada with stuff like this. They're thinking they're lucky stars that the weather's so good. So it ain't no big deal, believe me.
Well, maybe when Canada becomes the next state, we can get more snow reports from up there.
Well, the good thing is that Gary's there, able to give us a snow report from the Gulf of America. So.
Yeah, I'm about to say, when is that? Because I heard Trump say it again the other day. I mean, is that really going to happen? I mean,
I'm going to call it the Gulf of Mexico, like I always have.
I mean, isn't that like a worldwide decision? Don't you have to go to the UN to make something like that happen? I mean, I don't know. I thought that was kind of. I mean, how much? I was looking at a map, though. It seems like more of the Gulf of Mexico is on Mexico than it is the U.S. I could be wrong.
You could be wrong, but it's a lot. Yeah,
it kind of looks like
that.
It is.
It's like that movement to the United States. There was a movement here in Alabama, and it wasn't that long ago, to officially have Auburn situated in West Georgia, because so many people thought that's where it was, right? Yeah, according to some people,
there's still some that believe that. I do remember this, though, Barry, when Bob James was the governor. I think he was governor twice. And maybe it was kind of one of these things like Trump's doing with the Gulf of America or whatever. He wanted to extend the Alabama state line from Dothan all the way to the Gulf of Mexico and take in Panama City and Fort Walton and Destin and Pensacola.
Yeah.
It didn't
get much. Same, really.
It didn't get much traction.
When you hit south and you hit like Ebro,
Oh,
or
yeah.
depending on where, or Alpha or Graceville or something. Ain't no difference. It's the
Ain't
same.
not
Why
I
do
can
they
tell you what the
do it?
difference is, Barry. The difference is the price of a bottle of liquor. That's different. I promise you that.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into a liquor store in Florida compared to the states where in Alabama, the prices are incredibly different. And you can buy fireworks in Alabama, but you can't in Florida.
Yeah.
You can do that too.
Which is weird. Yeah. Theoda says Longshore, Trump already signed the Gulf of America executive order. Yeah, I know that, but can he do that? I mean, 90-something% of the Gulf of Mexico is out of U.S. territorial waters. Is he going to tell the people in Trinidad, hey, man, by the way, we have decided up here in America, it's the Gulf of America now. I don't think he has the power to do that.
I got this big world map on my wall. If I got to go get a new map or just get a Sharpie and scratch out Mexico and write in America, I mean, how's that going to work?
There's not enough white out for that map.
The Panama Canal, I'm with him on that one. I mean, I've been to the Panama Canal, seen it. It's unbelievable, just a marvel of engineering. And we ought to get that back. I don't know how we ever got rid of that, but it's going to be kind of tough to call it the Gulf of America when you've grown for 61 years. You called it the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, longer than that, but in John's experience, that's what it's always been.
Yeah, it's always been the same. Well, we'll find out more about Mexico. I think, didn't Trump put some tariffs on Mexico and Canada? Isn't that an executive order he signed too, Theoda?
Yeah, I lose track of them. There was a bunch. Well,
he is putting his foot down.
Like we said, I have really come to rely on our weekly visit with CJ Duncan. Always good information, terrific insight and stuff. It's one of our must-see facets of the program, like it all is. And he's coming up next. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light. Buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar. Go to the opposing team's bar. Buy a round during the next truck commercial. Buy a round during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Okay, here we are back on Longshore and McKnight, about 34 minutes past the hour. Hey, I'll also tell you, Ty's a big fan of our next guest, as he always enjoys hearing CJ Duncan on the show, and we do as well. He joins us here now, CJ Duncan with Yellowhammer News. Hey, CJ, how you doing today?
Uh-oh.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Good. What's the weather like where you are, CJ, first of all?
You know what? It is as cold as I've ever been, but there's no snow. You know, usually if it's going to be this cold, I'd rather see some snow on the ground. So We're just dealing with trying to stay warm up this way.
I've been waiting to ask you about this. Of course, Monday night national championship game. Opening up, Notre Dame had the prettiest drive you ever want to see. You know, it took almost 10 minutes, 18 plays, and I thought, well, here we go. I'm a little surprised at how efficient they were. And then Ohio State gets out there on offense, and it was pretty much over but the shouting. Ohio State just seems to me that their personnel was significantly better. How do you read the outcome, 34-23 Buckeyes and the national championship?
The better team won on Monday, and it was very clear. This team, at this point in the season, I think they would beat anybody, right? It took them some time to kind of figure it all out, to get that chemistry, to gel, to do all those things, because you have so many new guys on the team. But once they figured it out, it'd be hard to see anyone in the country, not just Notre Dame, beat Ohio State right now. I think in that first drive, it's very difficult because you're trying to feel the game out, feel how a team is trying to attack you. And Notre Dame was killing them on the quarterback runs. And usually when that happens, you get hat on a hat, and somewhere you have more numbers than the other side, right? And so once Ohio State adjusted defensively, saying, okay, we maybe need to bring another extra guy down in the box to account for Riley Leonard, now we can play them straight up and see if they can beat us that way. And you kind of saw that happen. Everything kind of slowed down after that first drive. I think Notre Dame ended up with less than 60 yards rushing on the entire game. And, of course, struggled in the pass game until late fourth quarter.
CJ, I was thinking about you as a former player in the SEC. Just your thoughts about watching the game and really the direction in which college football seems to be headed. A lot of people have used this phrase, it's the best team that money can buy, when they describe Ohio State. I'm for players, making money, have been for years. And I'm for players being able to play where they're happy and comfortable and want to be. But is that what we're headed toward? The team, the program that's got the most money is going to, more times than not, be winning championships.
They'll definitely be in contention for it, right? And I think that you're seeing more parity across the entire country because of money, right? And I think now that players are seeing, I don't necessarily have to be the best guy on the team to make $200,000. I think you'll see that movement continue until we put some type of red tape around this situation. Right now, it's the Wild Wild West, and we're kind of waiting on federal direction when it comes to it. So there's not a whole lot we can do about it right this second. But to me, in my opinion, I do think that there is something to a team that has been together, has been through a lot together. I think this Notre Dame team, their quarterback was a new guy, but the majority of their team were all have been there for a while. They had a linebacker that had been there 6 years. So I do think there is something to that. But, when Ohio State, they're kind of a mixture of SEC and Big Ten guys all in one, it gets pretty difficult to beat them in the long run.
When you look at it in a long view, I think it was kind of a sigh of relief in the career of Ryan Day. He now, hey, you won a national championship. Now you got to beat Michigan, those kind of things. So it was, people had been really grinding on him that, man, you got to break through. But on the other side of things, boy, I was really impressed with Marcus Freeman and the job he did all season long. It looks as though that guy's one of the hot young coaches in America, and it doesn't look as though Notre Dame's going away anytime soon. Can you characterize the job that you perceive that Freeman has done in South Bend?
Absolutely. He's created a belief, and you can work as hard as you want to, but if you don't believe and mentally you're not there, if you don't think you're gonna go out and win every game, then you won't get to the national championship. And he's got those guys believing in the work that they've put in, but also belief in themselves individually to come together as a team and play extremely well. I mean, for him to have even freshmen coming in. I mean, it's so hard.
Yeah.
To me, I think the biggest transition is from being a high school player to a college freshman than it is, going from college to the NFL. And I mean, he's got freshmen playing like 2 and 3 year guys. Great House had 2 incredible touchdowns. I believe he's a freshman, and the running back Love had an outstanding year. Of course, he's a lot. He's banged up right now. Has been for the last several weeks. But when healthy, very impressive guy as well. So for him to get those guys to play like they are, it says a lot about him as a coach, as a teacher, and really as a mentor, because a lot of that is mental. It's not something that you wake up out of bed and you have. It's an everyday fight and commitment to believe, and so he's got those guys believing. I don't see them going anywhere.
CJ Duncan of Yellowhammer News joining us here today. Of course, played here in the SEC at Vanderbilt. And as a former player, CJ, I mean, it's every day. I mean, you're not playing a game every day, but it's football. You're thinking about it. You're working out. You're lifting weights. You're conditioning. Everything you got to do to get ready for the season. So whether it's the spring or the summer, football's in your daily routine to some degree. When it does come to the season, though, and I've used this term a couple of weeks now, college football fatigue. And as a viewer, as a spectator, as a guy that covers it and follows it, to me, it just drug out too long. I mean, maybe if an SEC team was in the championship game, I might have felt a little different. I don't think I would have. And it's not that there's too many teams. It's just the scheduling of all of these games. Somebody sent me a text that it was 5 weeks ago that, teams that didn't go to a bowl or make a playoff, I mean, their season was over almost 5-6 weeks ago. And here we are crowning a national champion closer to February than we are January 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is long drawn out. I don't know if you guys heard Desmond Howard. He was on, I believe it was First Take a couple of days ago, and they asked him, what he thought about the 12-team playoff, and he said, "I'm ready for it to be over." He's been covering it, preseason, during season, now postseason. He has not he's not used to covering college football for this long, for it to last this long. So I think we're all kind of feeling a little bit of that fatigue. They're scheduling wise, you like to see something a little different. Maybe push some of these games closer together. I think there was a pretty big gap between the first round game and the second round game. Maybe close that gap a little bit. And then between the semifinal and the national championship, I think there was a full week in between. We probably could have snuck that in this weekend, kind of thing. So, and I know they're competing with the NFL as well. So it may be up to the higher folks on the totem pole, and they could care less. So they're getting money out of it.
But all in all, a lot has been made that if we were under the previous system, Ohio State's loss to Michigan at the end of the year, and of course they didn't play in their conference championship game, would have aced them out of a 14 playoff. They wouldn't have even been in, but the 12 team gives them another chance. I like to think that devalues the regular season, that Ohio State can have a debilitating loss like they did against Michigan, and in effect it be a playoff loss, but it's really not. So with what you're talking about the scheduling and about the timing and everything, and about the way things ended up shaking out where Ohio State wins the national championship, taking everything into account, CJ, is the expanded playoff, in your estimation, good for college football?
You know what? I think so, right? Because and we've talked about this before. It
Right.
gets kind of more to an NFL kind of look to it. When we see teams losing the NFL the first 7 weeks of the season, we don't freak out. We're like, okay, they lost the game. The season's still long enough.
Right.
This team, they're just trying to catch their stride. You want to peak later on in the season, right? And I think college is just turning into the NFL from that perspective. When Joe Burrow starts the season off 2-5, we don't freak out. We say Cincinnati's probably still going to make the playoff, right? And we don't question if they're a good team or not, right? We just said, hey, they're starting slow. They hadn't gotten their footing yet, So and I believe when Tom Brady was in with Tampa Bay. I think they started slow that year, but then finished strong and ended up beating Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau. We never questioned whether or not they were a good team, and I think that the same thing can happen in college. You know, Alabama loses early to Vanderbilt. We didn't question if Alabama could be one of the better teams in the country. We just said they're starting slow. Same with Ohio State with their loss to Oregon and Michigan. So I do think it is good because we're taking a little bit of the expectation off of these kids that we don't have on the adults. So I think that it'll be good long term, and I think people will just get adjusted. Again, we're just in the first year of it. I think it's a lot of people that are, sharing opinions, but once you get settled in and you get used to it, I think people will like it in the long term.
You know, and I just like that it brings more people are involved, more programs, more parts of the country. I think during the 4-team playoff, there were so many years where, a team from out west wasn't part of it, or up, in the Midwest or wherever it may be. And now with 12 teams and probably soon to be more, you just have more areas of the country that are still engaged, still interested, still want to be a part of it. I don't think that was the case during the 4-team model.
No, I don't know that I've ever seen Arizona State really have a good team in my lifetime, at least. And so to see folks like that, and I love Scottsdale. I spent some time in Arizona playing with the Arizona Cardinals. So
Right.
I appreciate seeing some Scottsdale guys, and got a couple buddies from that area as well. So it's good to see them. And I mean, you're like you said, everybody's still engaged. That's eyes on the product, and that's what marketing and everything else is all about. And so I think it's good for college ball in the long term, like I just said. But one thing I do get concerned about are those guys that are going to the NFL, right? If you're having a long, deep playoff run in college, and then your rookie year starts at the combine, right? You don't really stop. You got to go to rookie minicamp. And then after rookie minicamp, you got to go to OTAs, and then it continues. And really, you have like a month off in July, I believe, and then you're right back at it into fall camp, and then into a 18-game or a 17-game season. So you literally don't stop playing football. You get a month break in a whole like calendar year, basically, for those rookies. It's going to be really tough on them to last a full NFL season after, say if you play for Ohio State or Notre Dame and you're about to go play an NFL year.
I never thought
Yikes.
about that.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
My final
You played
question,
a lot of football.
my final question to you about this, leadership, college football leadership is not just what the fans' common perception is that you're yelling at your guys on 3rd and 4 when you're down 5 in the 4th quarter. It's more than just that. Leadership is now. I had to imagine there were times when you were playing at Vanderbilt, when it's January or early February and you're going through the winter workouts and the alarm clock rings and it's just daybreak outside and you're sitting in your bed going, oh. But you've got to, but the leadership and the culture you're talking about, that really is in effect right about now. And the fans never seem to appreciate that, CJ.
Yeah, there has to be some level of consistency in the locker room outside of the coaches, right? You got to have guys in there that are keeping everybody on the straight and narrow, and especially the guys that are like the second string or like the third string. Hey, buddy, just be ready, man. You just never know. Injuries happen. This is a collision sport.
Yeah.
And to have everybody focus on the same goal, understanding, hey, we're this close, but we're not close enough. You got to finish this thing out. If you let up just a little bit, that's when you let someone like Notre Dame, who has a lot of fight in them, actually win that game. And so you've got to have, and it's not just your quarterback. It's got to be your linebackers. It's got to be, your running back, Judkins and Henderson. They've got to play a role. Your offensive linemen, those guys right there. You got to incentivize them sometimes, man. Maybe you go get them some Bud Light beer or something, or you go take them out to eat it. You do something to continue to keep things fresh, because you get into this lull of the season and it's just a grind. It really is just a grind. You're working. You're not just playing football. You're going to work.
Coach is screaming at you at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. No, it is tough. And you got guys trying to pull through with injuries too. And so, I'll take you through it a little bit. When you have an injury, so say you have 6 a.m. practice or workouts, but if you have an injury, you have to be at the facilities at 4:30 because you got to get your rehab in prior to everybody getting there to tape and get ready for practice, right? And you may even have like a small light lift before practice as well. So the guys that are kind of battling injuries, which most people are at this time of year, they're at the facilities around 4:30.
Woo. Well, that is early. Gee whiz. All right, CJ, I know we're about to run out of time, but next week I wanted to maybe dive into, now that the season is over, what goes on now? I guess you're building up towards spring practice, going through that at the collegiate level, getting ready, preparing, making your plans for the upcoming season. So I'd like to dive to that with you maybe next week when you join us.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these coaches in the playoffs are feeling a little overwhelmed about recruiting too. So that'll probably play a role in it,
Listen, always a pleasure. The response has been really great for your visits with us, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate it, CJ. Thank you.
Well, I just thank you guys for letting me on every week. It's been a blast. I look forward to next week.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate that. CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, joining us here each and every week. We really appreciate his participation here with us and our association with Yellowhammer News. You can check it out right now. You can view us there at yellowhammernews.com. You can go to YouTube and search Longshore and McKnight. We're all over Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, you name it. You can listen to us on your Bluetooth through your audio system in your vehicle, which we know a lot of people do. We greatly appreciate that. You can communicate with us via our River Region Straw chat, which is live right now. Email us longshoreMcKnight@gmail.com via our Marker Reach Exquisite Jewelry email inbox. So many ways to communicate, so many ways to view us. We greatly appreciate it. And this afternoon, there'll be a little write-up at Yellowhammer News, and you can get a little Cliff's Note version of what happened on the show today.
If it wasn't for Yellowhammer News, I totally missed this. The inauguration coverage on C-SPAN, did they really have an Alabama fan call in to C-SPAN's inauguration coverage and say, hey, we should have been in the playoff, That's a great article from Michael Bronner. I
love
missed this. I didn't realize that they actually had an interview with at that point soon to be President Trump at halftime of the national championship game. I had tuned. If I had known that was going on, I would have checked it out. That's why I'm glad we have Yellowhammer News to keep us up to date on all this.
Yeah, they actually, and of course I saw this on Jesse Waters last night. They obviously there was a lot going on with the inauguration, with the national championship, but they did have Trump have a little opening remark before the game, and then something else at halftime as well. But I did miss the halftime, but I did see the opening remarks before the game kicked.
Yeah, they've got us covered at yellowhammernews.com. In association with that organization, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. The Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Yep, get that pine straw, and of course, Barry, you mentioned that firewood, premium seasoned firewood. It is ready to burn, and it'll keep you warm. I can promise you that. And it's going to be cold for many, many days and nights. So give Kenny a call or text today, and he'll get that firewood to you. You can go by and pick it up, whatever is most convenient. Couple of things I noticed here on the chat line. Time with you. Just can't figure out how Ohio State loses to Michigan but ends up winning the national championship. I don't know what it is. Maybe those helmets. And Ohio State goes crazy when they see them. Does that leave a bad taste in the Buckeyes' mouths of the fan base that they lost to Michigan? I mean, I can think of another team, another fan base that lost to one of their rivals. I don't know if it's their biggest rival, but one of them, and went on to win the national championship. I don't hear them complaining about that.
You know, but Theotis asked, does it make you feel better that you lost to the team that beat the national champion? It's a Michigan team that didn't even finish in the top 25 in the final AP poll that came out. So how did they beat Ohio State and Alabama back to back? That's an interesting run there. And like I said, the final AP poll came out yesterday. And is it, John, a harbinger of things to come? Of course, Ohio State finished number 1, Notre Dame number 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Penn State 5, Georgia 6. So if you look at the top 5 teams in the final poll, 3 of them are from the Big Ten. Only one of them is from the SEC. By the way, Alabama did finish in the top 25. The Crimson Tide ends the year. This is the AP poll.
Yep.
Number 17, right behind Iowa State and Illinois.
Barry, I read that there were 4 or 5 coaches, coaches that vote in this thing. Usually it's some grad assistant, in the sports information office that does it, that did not even have Alabama in the top 25. The Washington coach, I think I've read, and then 3 or 4 schools, I'm thinking, they get a vote? I mean, what? But yeah, so Bama's losing its luster with some of those coaches out there and not even putting them in the top 25. But I guess they got enough votes to finish 17th in the country. But yeah, you got the Big Ten winning back-to-back national championships. 3 of their teams are in the top 5. Is it just because the SEC's beating up on each other? And the conference is just so strong, where the Big Ten is so top-heavy? What's the deal there? What's Greg Sankey going to do to get this ship back headed in the right direction?
Now, if that comment doesn't draw Bob from Pike Road out in agreement with that, somebody needs to check with Bob, because That's what he's been saying. Anytime the SEC falls short, is that, well, it's because we beat up on each other. Everybody knows that it's the best conference out there. And don't think for a moment that everywhere else in the country is here for that. They're tired of the SEC. There's SEC fatigue. They're tired of SEC always acting like they're the big dogs and everything. Texas was the highest rated SEC team, and they weren't even in the league this time last year. Georgia 6, Tennessee 9, Ole Miss 11. So your top 4 teams in the SEC, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, Alabama and South Carolina and Missouri all make the top 25 as well.
And speaking of South Carolina, Barry, in that way too early preseason poll, South Carolina very high in that poll. I saw yesterday.
Yeah, they've got a quarterback that really kind of he didn't come out of nowhere, but he really grew up. A guy named Lenore Sellers, and he impressed John in the Alabama game, and he really impressed me in the Clemson game and some of the other ones out there. So that's kind of a thing. I agree with the premise that in college football, the way you play offense now, you cannot compete for a national championship without a high-level quarterback. The top four all had transfer quarterbacks at the top. Will Howard's from Kansas State, Riley Leonard's from Duke, Dylan Gabriel's from Oklahoma and UCF, and Quinn Ewers was from, Ohio State. So you've got to have that. I do think this was not the SEC's best quarterbacking.
Well, you think about it, Barry. Let's go back to the 80s and even the 70s, if you want to go back that far when the wishbone was so popular. But let's go back to the 80s. It was, the quarterbacks really weren't that great. They weren't, the big name guys. I remember talking about, there are not a lot of SEC quarterbacks in the NFL. They're coming from schools in other conferences or some, Eastern Michigan or Eastern Illinois or whatever it may be. Right. And the SEC was just so ground and pounded and grounded out and the triple option and having these just marquee Heisman Trophy type running backs. Steve Spurrier gets in the league and opens it up and shows everybody, you can throw the ball, because it just wasn't a lot of passing going on in the 80s. And it's opened it up, and you're right. I mean, similar to the NFL. If you don't have a good quarterback in the NFL, you're done. You've got to have a really, really good top-of-the-line quarterback if you're going to advance. Just look at the teams that are in the NFC and AFC championship games this week. That'll tell you. And, I mean, it's wide receivers. It's great quarterbacks, and it's almost like the running game is just kind of almost secondary. I mean, we want a good running back, but we got to make sure we got a really good quarterback and some really good quality wide receivers out there.
And even now with the running backs, you've got to have a running back who can catch the ball, because it's not just about handing him to him on a stretch play or pitching it to him on an option pitch or anything. You've got to get it to him in space. The good running backs these days, particularly in the NFL, are guys who are also factors in the passing game. Has the Big Ten surpassed the SEC? Yahoo Sports' Dan Wetzel says it's the sign of a new era in college football. Big Ten schools are huge. There are nearly 67,000 students at Ohio State. He writes this, and I'm not even sure this is right, Dan Wetzel. We were talking about Ohio State and a $20 million NIL. To me, that's the biggest number associated with Ohio State. It's not 85 scholarships or 100,000 seats in their stadium. It's $20 million NIL. He says there are 11 billionaires that live in Michigan. And of course, it's an automotive thing. It's an automotive thing. He says there are 11 billionaires who live in Michigan. He says none call Alabama home. I don't know if Dan Wetzel has ever been to Abbeville, but I think if he was to look around and find a CPA in Abbeville, they might find one down there.
Yeah,
But,
I want
they
to
got more money
say
up there. They got more.
I want to say Jimmy
resources.
Raines was in the Forbes 400 a year or two ago. 400
John keeps
richest
track of
people.
that, yes.
I don't know if he was a billionaire, but I do know he was in the Forbes 400.
Billionaire.
But
That's
I'm not
hard
sure
to
if he's a
imagine.
billionaire. But
So,
he's
yeah,
got.
I mean, they
but
got
he's
more
the wealthiest.
resources.
He's the wealthiest Alabamian.
In money terms,
In money terms.
Sure.
In
In
money-
happiness and all that, you're looking at the two of them.
I mean, look, Barry, I would have to say he is the only member of the Forbes 400 that has actually been a coach in the SEC as well, at least for a week.
No, well, there's a lot of people up in Ohio and in Michigan that have been assistant coaches at their school. Now, they're not paid. As a matter of fact, it's strictly a volunteer basis, just like Jimmy Rain is a,
maybe I should have rephrased that.
Volunteer coach.
He's
for
the
many
only
years.
guy on the Forbes 400 that was standing as close to the head coach as any other guy I've ever seen on the sidelines. I mean, he
maybe
might have
so.
even been calling a play. He was so close.
Okay, maybe he was, but it was a really good play. It was a solid idea.
Was that the same game that Tuberville gave the official the up yours
That
sign?
was the one. Yep, that was against Arkansas, up in either Fayetteville or in Little Rock or something.
How do I remember
like
that? Next time we
Listen.
have the coach on, I got to ask, Coach, what happened?
This
Woo.
is the problem. This is the problem for the fans who watch something like that. Tuberville giving the referee the old jog off is, and John knows this. I'm not speaking to John. John knows this. In the great grand scheme of bad behavior, bad language to officials from collegiate head coaches, given the old up yours, that's tame, man. If you ever hear, we can talk with Russ Baines or Andy Britton or some of those guys who are friends of ours who are, officials. Man, that ain't nothing. Oh, Tuberville gave an obscene gesture. Listen, you ought to hear some of the language from some of those guys. This is way down on the John-o-meter in terms of rudeness.
I'm watching the Bama game last night against the Commodores, and ever since PM referenced that Nate Oates seems to talk to the officials, I guess is a nice way to put it, more than any other coach in the league. Which, first of all, I thought, well, if you watched every other coach in the league, every minute of their games to see if they're talking to the officials as much as Nate Oates does, or is this just something that you saw and went, this guy talks to the officials more than anybody I know, and until you prove me wrong, I'm standing by it. Which
John respects.
I do respect that.
I still think that Phillip, it would not surprise me if Phillip still thought that C.M. Newton was coaching Alabama and that Sonny was still coaching Auburn and, Joe B. Hall was still in Lexington and Joe Dean was at LSU and all that. I'm not to answer your question. I don't know if he's ever watched every other coach in the SEC. I feel fairly certain, in my opinion, that he couldn't name every other coach.
Yeah, probably couldn't. And I was watching Oates last night.
That John's been focusing on Oates and his sideline behavior.
Yeah, I have, and he does have conversations with the officials quite regularly. Sometimes more animated than others. Sometimes it's just kind of like one of those. Wait, that was a foul, and then other times he'll get a little bit more into it. But he does seem to talk to the officials a lot and never sits down. I don't think he sits down the entire game.
He'll squat once in a while, but very rare. Only time you see him on the bench is during a timeout when he's got the whiteboard out and he's explaining something to his guys about defense and they're all looking somewhere else or something like that. I don't know.
I don't have a problem talking to the officials. I don't know.
Now, Bruce, the difference is, I mean, if not to compare, I'm not comparing them because they're different approaches, different styles, different programs, blah, blah, blah. The problem with Bruce was that he sweats so much and his face gets so red that even when he's really just kind of matching the energy of Nate Oates, Oates has got I'm a big fan of his sport coats, big fan of, how he dresses. And he just doesn't look ruffled. Oates. Bruce, he's over there, he's yelling, he's calling out defensive signals and all that, and he looks like he's sweating up a storm and just about to have an attack or something like that. That's the difference.
Yeah, it is. I saw a picture of Bruce today. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out where I saw it. Oh, I guess it was at AL.com, something like that. And boy, he's how many years has he been at Auburn? Because man, this was a young looking picture. I thought, man, Bruce Pearl sure does look young. It was at his press conference with Jay Jacobs when they announced him as the new basketball coach at Auburn. Was that 12, 15 years ago? How long's he been at Auburn?
I'll have to look. I don't think it hadn't been 15. It may be around 12.
Because when he got to Auburn, they were still playing at Beard Eves, weren't they? Or had Neville already opened?
Yes.
Yeah. But man, he looked young in that picture. So I thought, man, has he been there? He's been at Auburn a while. Not to say he's aged. We've all kind of aged gracefully, I would hope.
Not
to say.
Everybody. Yeah.
I certainly don't look the same way I did 30 years ago, or 15 for that matter.
He is been the head coach now since 2014 at Auburn. So this is his
11th season
year. Yeah.
Neville opened at Bar B's first year. I love that. Bar B. Who was that? Television guy that called him Tony Bar B.
Dave Neal said it on an SEC network telecast about 17 or 18 times. And that kind of captured a lot of them.
I mean, what did he say? Did he call it Tony Barbie? I thought the guy's name was Tony Barbie. And of course, from that moment on, Barry, in my mind, he was always referred to as Tony Barbie because I heard that guy say it. Kind of like, when you reference the Fighting Irish, it's Notre Dame. And of course, that was penned by the late, great, his name escapes me now. Bino Cook. Bino Cook penned that. Notre Dame.
That's actually probably how they pronounce it in Paris or whatever.
I think it probably is too. Yeah. Bino. God, I miss that guy. I mean, no doubt with John from Millbrook letting me know how many days until baseball starts, Bino Cook, the probably best line I've ever heard. There's a lot of great one-liners, a lot of great responses, but the one about the Iran hostages getting released, that might be the best I've ever heard.
The hostages were released right before Carter left office from Iran. And, they got to America, great adulation, ticker tape, all that stuff. And as part of, America's response and gratitude and everything, Bowie Kuhn, who was the commissioner of Major League Baseball, had a grand announcement that every one of the hostages has got a lifetime pass to any Major League game at any stadium in the country. And Bino Cook, somebody told him about that. He said, haven't they suffered enough?
Oh, I wish that is great. That top 10 one-liner comebacks. That's near the top. That is a good one. Haven't they suffered enough?
Well,
oh, that's so good. And I feel you, Bino. I know what you're saying. Woo, man. 17 days until baseball starts.
Yeah. Theoda says, John, you looked young when you started in radio. Well, A, that's 30-something years ago, and B, he still looks young. Yes, me.
I had some hair. It wasn't gray. It was thick. Nowadays,
Let's take a break, seeing if we can get Coach
Yeah.
Scott Cross on in just a moment. Talk a little basketball. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light. Buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar. Go to the opposing team's bar. Buy a round during the next truck commercial. Buy a round during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Okay, back at it here, about 15 minutes past the hour number 2, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Special guest joining us now. He's the head basketball coach of the Troy Trojans, Scott Cross. Coach, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely great to have you. First of all, Coach, all of this snow in Troy, I'm dealing with it. How's it affecting your team and practice and getting ready for tomorrow night's home game?
Well, we were able to practice yesterday. We were just had to be done by 11 a.m. And obviously that's when it started snowing pretty heavily. Right now we're waiting for my boss, Brent Jones, to give us the thumbs up on what time we can practice today. So I'm assuming we have it scheduled at noon, but somewhere probably noon, 1 or 2, we'll probably practice today. And that's under the assumption that Southern Miss is going to be able to get down here and we're going to be able to have the game. I think there has been a little bit of talk about, are they going to be able to get down here today, or, so Brent is dealing with all that. And right now I'm just assuming everything is a go. And if I hear differently, then I'll make adjustments at that point.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about where your team is right now. Splitting 2 games over the week, last week on the road, the win against Louisiana Monroe in Monroe, and then just a disappointing loss despite a huge comeback at South Alabama. Mentally, where is your team right now after that?
Well, we had a great practice yesterday. The guys got after it. I think they know, we let one slip. It wasn't one play or one, it was a collection starting with me all the way down, and we had to be better. I think the guys know that. I'm excited to be back home in Trojan Arena. And once our guys and we completely figure this thing out, I mean, I don't see any team in the league that can beat us when we're playing at our best. So, we just have to figure out how to do it for 40 minutes. And once we get that figured out, then you'll see the best of the Trojans.
Coach, do you talk about the league, the Sun Belt? I mean, it seems to be getting a lot of run. I mean, it's a competitive league, and there's some really good teams in it.
Yeah, there are. There's 4 or 5 teams that are playing high-level basketball right now, and I believe we're in that mix. We're right around the top 100 in the net. And but we don't really look ahead. We just focus on the game that's in front of us. And right now, on paper, it's Southern Miss, and so that's where our focus is. And we're preparing for them. And it won't be an easy game. They have some weapons, but it doesn't really matter. Again, it's all based on do we do what we're capable of doing? And if we do that, then we usually get the result that we want.
Well, let me follow up John's question then, Coach, with a different angle on it. In the league that you've seen so far, you haven't seen everybody. Troy hadn't played anybody. Have you seen a better player than Tatum Connerway for the Trojans?
No, I don't think so. I mean, right now, and I told him that, if we're fortunate enough to win the league, like there's nobody playing at a higher level in the league right now than Tatum. And he would, be a clear runaway MVP in the league. If we're not finished first, you can make a case for it, but more than likely, I would assume he would end up on the first team. So, that's why winning is so important. When you win, there's enough individual awards to go around for guys that are very deserving. We probably have some other guys that I think are deserving as well. And so we had to take care of basketball games and win, and it's still within our grasp. We still, control our own destiny, but we had to get hot right here. But a great time to do it. You have four games at home and all 4 very winnable games, and you take care of those, and you're probably right back at the top of the league.
Coach, I'd be interested, I guess from your standpoint, as a head basketball coach, it just really depends on the flow of the game and if you're winning, if things are going your way. But I'd be interested in your thoughts because as a fan and a consumer of college basketball, and I've been saying this for a couple of years, I think there's too many whistles. I think there's too many fouls being called, particularly ticky-tack type stuff. Your thoughts about that? Is the game being played like you like it, or would you like it to be maybe a little more physical, or maybe do they need to blow more whistles?
I think what I would like to see is more consistency. I have talked to our head of officiating, and who I think is phenomenal, Mike Eads. I think he's the best of the best, works with the SEC as well. For me, I think we can adjust. However, like once they made the change to the charge calls, we stopped working on charges in practice and all we work on is wall-ups. So, we can adjust, but you can't adjust if it is called ticky-tack one game and then, you go someplace else and it's super physical, which happens a lot. Like when we go on the road and we play a Power 5, you get no calls. They let you get hammered, and then all of a sudden you come back home and you play a game and it's, every little tic-tac call is foul when you're the aggressor. So, for me, I just want to see it be called more consistently. I think, picking Mike's brain, I think he does not want the whistle to be blown every single time. I do think that's the way he encourages his guys to officiate. And, I think he's pretty clear in what he wants, but they still have to go out there and they have to execute it. And it's not easy. But, yeah, I think the teams, the coaches, the players, they will definitely adjust if it's called consistently.
Head coach Scott Cross is with us, and he points out this Troy basketball team right now is on beginning a stretch of 4 straight games at Trojan Arena. Tomorrow night, scheduled against Southern Miss at 6 o'clock. First 3,000 fans get a Troy Trojans branded light stick. The students are back. That's going to make a big difference. Coach, how important is it to be at home playing in front of your fans, and what kind of an impact do they make traditionally?
Well, I think if you go back to our game on Saturday, do the fans make a difference? And I'm saying they do, not necessarily. Well, I think it affects the teams, but sometimes it affects the way the whistle is blown. And when there's a 50-50 call and you've got 5,000 fans, that are ready to scream at you, sometimes that can't, in my opinion, I would think it's human nature that, they don't want to be booed or yelled at, and they like to hear the applause. So I think that's where fans come in. Some of those calls, like maybe they call a travel, maybe they call a 3-second call. But, I do think that the fans can make it tougher on opposing teams to shoot and hit shots. So when the game's on the line, does Barry Dunning make those 2 free throws when, he's got 5,000 fans yelling and screaming at him? And it definitely makes it a lot tougher.
Whew, ain't kidding. Coach, I want to get your thoughts about this as well. Years ago, Barry and I had a basketball legend on with us quite a bit. He was a former coach, became a analyst for the SEC in their television broadcast, and we were interviewing him one day, and he brought up 6 fouls. You got it in the NBA, and he was a big proponent for wanting the college game to go to 6 fouls. He said, look, people aren't coming to see your best player sit on the bench. Was one of his reasons for it. There were others as well. But your thoughts about it? Have you ever thought about the college game going to 6 fouls?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would definitely be a good thing, because I think it allows you to have, 3 fouls per half. It's a little easier to judge. Just like you go back to our Arkansas State game, Jackson Fields gets a couple of early whistles. Well, now you had your best rim defender, team defender sitting on the bench, and a third foul would allowed us to play him longer throughout the game. And I think you do want your best players on the court, and if one team loses one of their best guys early on, it's a distinct advantage for the other team. And I think you would want it. The best players playing the best players to determine who has the best team in that game. So I do think that would be a good rule change. In fact, I probably need to propose it next time they send out for our feedback. Usually I just click it and move along, but that might be something that I'll take up.
And Barry, we heard about that quite a bit for a year or two, when Joe Dean was joining us and he talked about it and other people were kind of picking up on it. But Coach, it's just kind of like, it's just poof, gone. People don't talk about possibly adding another and make it 6 fouls in the college game. I personally, I'd like to see it. I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth, because at one side, I don't want to hear whistles. Don't call a foul. But now I'm thinking, if you are, then give me 6.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, sometimes that happens. A lot of things were here. I mean, it seemed like it was last year that every time somebody flopped, they were blowing the whistle and giving them a technical. Now, you shoot a 3-pointer and you just dive to the floor and it can be a foul. So, yeah, sometimes those things just magically disappear. I don't quite understand it, but.
I remember last Saturday, right after the game at South Alabama ended and Barry Dunning hit those 2 free throws with less than 3 seconds to go to win it for South Alabama. Before you came on the radio in the post-game show, some of the Troy fans came over to talk with me, and there was more than 2 or 3 of them says, man, I can't wait to get them back at Trojan Arena next week, Coach. And I know a lot of Troy fans can't wait to get there to see how South Alabama reacts in Troy's home atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think the more important thing is, how do our guys react? Do they come out with the same intensity, which I expect that they will, that we had in the second half? There was just a different look in our guys' eyes. That's what they have to figure out. We had to figure out how to get that look. And that, it's a look of determination and grit that you can see, especially with the guy like, Miles Rigsby. It's just a different look in his eye. And I know when I see that, like, we're winning this basketball game. And so, and I think his toughness and grit can transcend to our basketball team when he has that look in his eyes. And so, I think we kind of feed off of that as a basketball team.
Yep. Again, men's basketball Thursday against Southern Miss at 6 o'clock. That's tomorrow at Trojan Arena. Then Saturday, 5 o'clock. Against South Alabama. It's United and Cardinal Day. All fans are asked to wear Cardinal. First 3,000 fans get a Cardinal basketball T-shirt, and the first 3,000 fans get a Beat South ticket sticker as well. Go ahead and get your tickets, Troy fans. TroyTrojans.com/tickets to get there. Coach, I can't wait to see your team this week, and certainly look forward to some more high-level basketball. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Really appreciate your time today. It's Scott Cross. He's the head basketball coach of the Troy Trojans. Got a lot going on, got a really good team and a good league, as he touched on in our interview today.
I was going to ask him, or I need to ask somebody. I'll ask him when we have a little bit more time with him. But, you bring up the proposed 6 fouls. In women's basketball, they play 4 quarters.
Yep.
Like they do in the NBA. Of course, in men's basketball, it's 2 20-minute halves. And then you recycle the fouls at halftime. There's a lot of people who are like you, trying to figure out a way to keep your best players on the court, but not just go totally crazy. Next time we have somebody on, a basketball coach or an analyst on, I'm going to have them kind of talk me through that a little bit, because some people like you think, that, hey, maybe 6 fouls, let's give it a try. There's some other people who think, why in the men's game 4 quarters? That, you get the timeout for television, which is a must.
Yep.
You get the quarter breaks for television and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely worthy of a conversation. Certainly the next time we talk to Coach Cost, or next time we talk basketball with anybody.
It's, like I said, it's almost, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I mean, one side I'm saying, don't blow the whistle. Let them play. But if you're going to blow it, give us 6 fouls. And I'm with you. I mean, I'm there to see the best players play. I don't want to see them on the bench. So let me have both. Don't blow the whistle and still give me 6 fouls. And I want to say, back to the 4 quarters, how long have they been playing 2 20-minute halves? I mean, it seems like it's been 40 years, if not longer. That's really the only way I remember men's basketball.
I can't remember it not. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What would be the advantage to go into 4 quarters?
Well, the fouls kind of even out a little bit. The team fouls, the individual fouls recycle back, I think. I'm drawing a blank right now. But it just, the team fouls recycle every quarter. And so, you don't have as many free throws.
Yep.
And that kind of, moves the pace of the game along. You and I both lamented, what was it, that Texas A&M game where Alabama and the Aggies shot 88 free throws? Believe it or not, it sounds odd to say this, but when you have a quarter break in the middle of each half, the game flows a little bit better because of the team foul cycling, at the quarter. So anyway, just something to talk about.
Yeah, I would
find out more about. Yeah,
I would like that as well. And I assume that instead of 4 timeouts in a half now, if you went to quarters, you might have 2?
Two per quarter. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I can live with that.
Yeah. It doesn't make the game longer because, I mean, you're still going to have the same number of timeouts, but it's I'd like to have somebody talk me through the rationale of that, the logic of it all. Well, when we come back, Chris the Bammer,
get ready.
He ended up finishing 13th in the bowl prediction contest.
Lucky 13.
He has I don't know that he's been with us much. Maybe the weather got him, but we've got to have the topic wheel, right? I mean,
the topic, the Victorland topic wheel. I believe there's 5 actually today. I believe on the Victorland 777 topic wheel where you can be a winner too. So we'll do that. But Chris came in 13th in the final polling, and we're still looking for CD Powell. He is our winner with a total of 62 points. CD Powell is our bowl prediction contest winner. He will get a travel voucher of $1,000 to travel wherever he would like from the Montgomery Regional Airport. Congratulations to Hannon B. Curtis, 80862, MSU Dog, 10 Cup, C. Wooden, Brent 6 RTR, Big Lou 77, and MS Flanagan 11. That is the top 10 finishers. But Bear, as you well know, it's all about who finishes number 1 in our contest.
Well, it's all about who finishes number 1 in college football. A little bit more about the national championship game, college football. How long before the 2 SEC schools in this state are sniffing that again? Got a lot to talk about. Topic wheels coming up. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
We are back. It is 25 minutes to the top of the hour. So glad you're with us here today on the program. Very good news. Robbie's up. Robbie is up.
Hey.
With a chat 1 minute ago. Man, awesome. Good stuff. That man, fantastic. Robbie says Robbie approves of the way the Tide played last night.
Yeah, very good win for Alabama hoops last night. Just need to be more consistent on defense. Aiden Holloway is now in the right system for him. He also has better shooters with him in Tuscaloosa. Very proud. Somebody asked, I saw this, somebody asked Aiden Holloway why he is playing so much better, scoring so much better, playing so much better now at Alabama than he did last year at Auburn. And he says, I'm a little bit more free than I was before. So maybe, maybe that's what he needs, is just to get out and go play. Of course, he's a year older as well. Robbie also reports 4 inches of snow here in Greenville. Feels like a small town in Big Ten country like Michigan or Ohio. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I mean, I'm looking out my window and there's nothing but snow out there. So yeah, it's
somebody just
like
sent me
a postcard.
Maybe that's why we hadn't heard from Danny in Margaritaville. Somebody sent me some pictures this morning of down around South Baldwin County, near the Lillian area where I spend a lot of time in Perdido, and it is a winter wonderland down there. 4 to 5 inches of snow on the ground. I'm thinking, I know we're not accustomed to it, but certainly those people definitely are not. It could be a minute before they're out and about because of, there again, it's got to melt. There's no way to get rid of it.
Thank you, James Spann.
Good job. I mean, unless you go out there with a blowtorch, it ain't melting.
Yes. Speaking of a blowtorch, that's 3 straight from Robbie from Greenville, by the way.
Oh, man, look at that.
So, yeah.
Robbie, love it. Appreciate the comments.
Let's go to the, can we load up the Victoryland 777 topic wheel?
Let's do it.
And roll up our sleeves and get to work. Let's spin it. What do we got here?
Let's see what's on the wheel today.
All right.
It's got to be something good. All right, first up. It falls into the what now category. What now? So you've sat back after Monday's national championship game, and a lot of you out there that are football fanatics, college football fanatics, are thinking, well, what now? What goes on now? Well, it used to be that the first Wednesday in February was a big day because it was National Signing Day. That's not so much a big deal anymore.
No, it really isn't, because you've also got a new portal window, which is, it seems like that much more important. You also, of course, have an early signing day, which has become really the National Signing Day. So,
sure,
it used to be a calendar that John and I could count on. Well, college football national champion is crowned, or at least named. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on National Signing Day on first Wednesday in February. Well, that's not even a thing anymore. I submitted to you from my buddy John from Wetumpka, who posted this before 8 o'clock this morning, and likely will be doing this for a little while. What now? Well, it's 17 days, 15 hours, and 6 minutes until spring training Major League Baseball. That's what I'm thinking. Finish up basketball. I am elbow deep in basketball myself. College baseball starts on February the 14th, 15th, 16th. Major League Baseball pitchers and catchers report even before then. Oh, that's what's up.
Man.
That's what now.
Yeah. Well, I guess you got spring football coming. I think Auburn's is actually a little earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
or
I think
earlier
they
than
already
normal.
named it. They've already named the date.
So you got spring football, which to me is kind of, maybe some quarterback races, things of that nature. These spring games that they televise don't do much for me.
Yeah, the spring game telecasts, I don't know. I've done them before. I've done them from Auburn. I've done them from Tuscaloosa. I've done them elsewhere. I've watched a bunch of them, and it really doesn't give you an idea. I mean, it just basically feeds the hunger.
Yeah.
Fall Day will be on April the 12th, which is a little bit early. They've got all the new transfer portal additions, I salute Auburn in that I think that the ticket price to get in is still $5. Maybe 10.
Did they not raise it to 10?
Yeah, maybe 10. But he is still. I mean, it all goes to the Greater Auburn Fund, and it's
I think it's going to that new north end zone addition. I saw some pictures of that the other day.
Yeah, not
finally
bad.
Took that old scoreboard down.
Well,
finally took that old antique down.
College football spring practice, I think, really peaked that time that I got John to come with me to an Auburn spring practice.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Out of the old fraternity lot. They got 4 fields out there. They used the fraternity lot. This is when Tuberville was there. And John and I went out there. Believe me, John, 5 minutes. He's like, hey,
my most vivid memory of that Auburn spring practice was actually watching one of the media writers that covers Auburn on one of the exercise bicycles.
This is when it peaked right here. For some reason, and I'm sure they do it, everywhere. They had like 3 or 4 fields, and I'm standing there with John, and I'm thinking, I'm like, Flounder, boy, isn't this great? Look at this. You had, this is at the fraternity lot, so you had good old boys that would actually get in their pickup trucks, and they would back them up to the almost to the boundary of the sidelines of the far football field. Remember? And
I do remember that.
They lower that tailgate. They had a keg in there. They'd sit there and drink beer and watch guys go through drills and up downs and getting yelled out. On the other side, that's where the media was. They had a couple of exercise bikes. That's for the players who, for some reason, weren't available. They were injured, and that way they could get on the exercise bike and they'd be going like this. Ain't nobody getting any physical benefit out of going like that. And even then, Philip Marshall, who at that time I think was with the Advertiser, I don't know. Philip Marshall, John's favorite writer, sat on one of them, and he wasn't even pedaling it at all. He was just sitting on it. And John was over there making book about how long that exercise bike would last. He says, man, it's looking like 5 minutes max. I mean, you hear that thing creaking? 3 minutes.
Who was the player, Barry, that was being disciplined and was told to run at the end of the practice field and pick up a leaf and bring it back?
Yep. I remember. His name was Curtis Lee, who was probably a fine young man who had just simply transgressed. I do know he was not much of a contributor to the Auburn football program in his career. Curtis Lee, Tuberville, or whomever, it may have been
I
Eddie
think it was
Gran.
Tuberville.
It was either Tuberville sent him or Eddie Gran, his running backs coach, sent him over to the far, far side of the field, of the practice field, not the football field, the practice facility, to bring him back a leaf.
Yes.
Because he had smarted off or something like that, which I'd never heard of before. I basically wanted to run there and back. And I do remember Curtis wasn't exactly busting it down the field.
No, wasn't sprinting. No, was not sprinting to get that leaf to bring it back. So the other thing about the what now category,
yes,
and I guess we'll ask Rodney Orr about this again tomorrow when he joins us, sponsored by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Staff changes. Is that what's up now, or has that already happened? I would think most of these programs, if they're going to make a change, have already done it. If they weren't happy with some people they had, some personnel, they would have already made a move and gotten rid of them. So I'm not sure staff changes or something we're going to see, but there's these, there's this speculation that in Tuscaloosa there's going to be some, but shouldn't it have already happened?
And the one that's been speculated the most, Ryan Grubb, is being advocated to fill a position that's not open.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. So there's that. That's what's next. At least some of the stuff we'll be focusing on once football is truly over after the Super Bowl and all that. What do people do?
Yep.
We'll talk about it. Back to the wheel.
Back to the wheel, the Victorland 777 topic wheel. It spins once again, and we'll see where it lands, and it is NFL best. NFL best. Robbie reminds us, Barry, if we did not know at 8:39, Robbie let us know the AFC and NFC title games are Sunday.
Yes,
that's
right.
You,
Robbie.
Thank you, Robbie.
We looked it up. Because you reminded us, we did look it up. And if it wasn't for Robbie, we would never have known. But yeah, the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship are both this weekend. Thank you, Robbie.
That is correct.
He's right.
He is right. And I've said it for years. To me, it's the best weekend of the entire NFL season. Championship games played on home fields in home stadiums before they take 2 weeks to play the Super Bowl at a neutral site. Right. To me, it's the, there's not as much pomp and circumstance this week. I mean, they leave all that for the Super Bowl and have all this stuff going on and these long halftime shows and this, that, and the other. But to me, this is more about football. And not to say the Super Bowl isn't, but this is all about, this is football on Sunday.
It's at home sites rather than a neutral site. You got your home fans instead of, I don't know, Rihanna and Jennifer Lopez and Bruno Mars and stuff trying to watch whatever. So this is really it. Commanders at Eagles from Philly is on Sunday at 2 on Fox. Philly's about a 6-point favorite. That's a compelling game just simply because the Eagles have yet to really break through under Nick Sirianni. There's a lot of parallels between him and Ryan Day at Ohio State. They've had a great run, but they haven't made the game. And the Commanders are simply the Cinderella. They're the Cinderella team left in there. But the other one, Bills and Chiefs again for the AFC Championship. That's also Sunday, 5:30 CBS. Kansas City's a 2-point favorite. They're playing at home. Here's a stat. Kansas City's been better, right? I mean, Kansas City has been to 7 straight AFC Championship games. They won 2 Super Bowls in a row. They're going for a three-peat. But overall, against the Bills, check this out. They have not been better than the Bills historically, although they have been better in the playoffs. Chiefs and Bills have split the last 10 meetings. They're 5-5 in the last 10, counting regular season. 5-5. Kansas City in those 10 games has scored 251 points. In those 10 games, Buffalo has scored 251 points.
Man.
10 meetings, they've scored the exact same number of points. They have split 10 games. The difference is, John, 3 of those games were postseason games, and Kansas City won every one.
Every one of them. Yep. 251 to 251. That's a Ralph Michaels statistic.
Yeah.
If he doesn't drop that on us Friday, we might have to drop that one on him. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
That's man, I'd have never thought that. But yeah, should be a good one on Sunday. Both of them actually. Yeah, I just wonder though is, does the bubble burst for the Commanders and Jaden Daniels for a rookie quarterback? He certainly has been extremely impressive. There's been a little talk about Jalen Hurts' game not being where it really needs to be. Maybe Washington's in a good spot because people don't think Philadelphia is maybe, as good as they should be or could be. It'd be remarkable to see the Commanders make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, but then again, I got to go Eagles in that one because of the one factor, and that's Saquon Barkley. I would make sure he gets it 30, 32 times and don't screw around with everything else. So, yeah, that is our NFL update. More on the topic wheel coming up.
Yep.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. River Bank and Trust.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
All righty, back at it here. A couple of minutes until the top of the hour. Don't forget tomorrow, Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover will join us here on the program. Rodney Orr, the Tyner Insider as well, and Bart Heisch, our resident basketball insider, will join us as well. All right, we got the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Still several topics we need to get to, and let's spin it. Let's see what rolls up next. Oh, hardwood. Yep, one of my favorites. Troy hoping to play a game this week, depending on if Southern Miss can get to Troy. I wondered about some of the SEC matchups as well. I'm not sure they're going to be affected maybe as much, but so a big night last night, another one tonight, 3 games last night, 3 games tonight in the SEC.
Yeah, the big one last night, we've already talked about it. Alabama wins over Vanderbilt 103-87. Alabama was favored by 12.5, win by 16. Robbie says Alabama's defense needs to be more consistent. Yeah. Alabama, that's why the Ole Miss loss was just such a head scratcher. Alabama has been phenomenal at home, and they'll continue that. Alabama will play against LSU in Coleman Coliseum on Saturday at 7:30. That's a night game. More on that a little bit later on in the week, possibly with Bart. Missouri loses to Texas 61-53. That's an upset. Missouri was favored and they were ranked. Also, Tennessee wins over Mississippi State 68-56. Auburn doesn't play during the week. Auburn's next game is against Tennessee on Saturday, so the Vols come in with a little bit of momentum. Tonight, number 5 Florida at South Carolina at 6 on the SEC Network. The first of a doubleheader later on the SEC Network at 8. We'll have Georgia versus Arkansas. Number 13, Texas A&M at number 16, Ole Miss. That's at 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN2.
Hey, Daniel tells us that the Bills and it was the Redskins back then, played in Super Bowl 26.
Yep, Redskins won that one. Mark Rippon, remember him?
Yes, I do remember him.
Quarterback for Washington, had a big day. Buffalo, this is what was funny about the numbers I was giving you before. Buffalo and Kansas City are 5-5 in their last 10, but Kansas City's 3 of their 5 have come in the playoffs to knock Buffalo out. This is Buffalo's best chance to get over that hump. Somebody tweeted, Buffalo has lost to the Chiefs 3 times in a row in the playoffs, but doesn't that mean they're due? I mean, it's not like the Bills to lose 4 consecutive crucial postseason games. That's tongue-in-cheek. The Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, Daryl Talley, Buffalo Bills played in 4 straight Super Bowls, lost all 4.
Lost all 4.
Yeah.
Sure
So
did.
they have lost 3 in a row in the playoffs to the Chiefs. I say this is the year that they finally
Ty
break
says
through to the other
that
side.
he's tired of the Chiefs, hopes the Bills win. People once said that about a college football team. They were tired of them. Want to see the other team win for a while, for a change.
Yeah. Ty says,
really?
didn't the Eagles play for a Super Bowl with Sirianni? No, Doug Peterson was the coach at the time, remember, because their savior quarterback, Carson Wentz, got hurt.
Yeah.
And Nick, what's his last name? Nick quarterback, Nick Foles was there, and he had a touchdown catch, the quarterback, to help the Eagles win the Super Bowl that year. Yep. Okay.
All right, Gern, let's spin it again. See what comes up on our Victoryland 777 topic. Well, we got 2 more to go, and it starts to spin. Where does it land? Nobody knows. And it is on T. Roy. Well, you mentioned it, Barry. We talked to Coach Cross earlier today, head basketball coach of the Trojans, hoping to put his team through a practice maybe around lunchtime today, and hopefully his opponent, Southern Miss, will arrive in Troy for the game tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a travel day for Southern Miss out of Hattiesburg to come to Troy, so hopefully everything is clean and clear for them to get here. 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Troy opens a 4-game homestand at Trojan Arena against Southern Miss, and then Saturday, it's a biggie, Billy. South Alabama comes in. They win by 1 point against the Trojans last Saturday. It'll be a 5 o'clock start on Saturday. That's a move up for that game. Trojan Arena, United and Cardinal. We'll have Brent Jones on the show on Friday to kind of go over all of the different things going on around basketball, of course. Right outside Trojan Arena, they have done a really good job getting everything ready. And they have started on the project for a new indoor practice facility, football. We're going to talk with Brent about a lot of different things on Friday, but we'll definitely talk with him about basketball. Tickets are available at TroyTrojans.com/tickets.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's spin it one more time. See what pops up on the wheel. You got to make it official. It's going to land on, the future of college football. So the season is over. I'm just interested, Barry, your thoughts. What do you think the future of college football will be? I don't know. Let's say in the next 6 to 12 months.
It's going to change. I do think within the next 6 to 12 months, they will act positively on expanding the playoff. I do think they're going to go to 16 teams. The other thing I think is going to happen will be what John has been banging the drum about, and that's in order to facilitate a 16-team playoff, they're going to have to move the season forward. I remember looking at some of the old schedules when I was a kid, and Florida would open the year on September the 17th. Well, now they're looking at opening the season on like August the 23rd on a consistent basis. Those are the things I think are going to happen. The thing that I hope will happen, and I hate to call upon the federal government, I never have believed the federal government is there to solve our problems for us. But I do think they're going to try and get some guardrails up in terms, first of all, of the transfer portal, and then because it's an easier fix, and then to try to put some salary caps, for lack of a better word, on NIL for each one of the schools. The House ruling will come out sometime this summer, and it will vastly impact the landscape of college football.
I think so. I think that's really something to look for. That House ruling later this summer. I think is going to be incredibly important to keep an eye on.
Just to give some
about the future.
direction to where things are going. It's not gonna be the be all end all. Well, here it is. This is the framework, but at least it'll give significant direction. Which, face it, John, there ain't any right now at all.
No, there isn't any. And I think another thing that we might see in the future, and I don't know if the dates are already in stone, set in concrete. Maybe they are because of where these games are going to be played. Don't know this for sure, but I would hope there would be some tightening of the schedule, some restructuring of it in postseason to kind of get this a little bit more condensed instead of so spread out. I don't think that we'll have anything different in terms of when the college football season will start until the 2026 season, which I think is when the expanded playoff will begin. We've got one more year, maybe as is, with maybe a target date of 2026. And that could be for everything, whether it's, moving the season to start earlier, kind of there again, tightening up the postseason schedule, expanding, whatever they've got to do there, expanding the playoff. I think 2026 is probably where we're headed for things like that. But in terms of NIL, I think they're going to try to get that issue corrected as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I am with you as well. John's already mentioned tomorrow's Jason Caldwell Day on the show, auburnundercover.com. It's Rodney Orr Day, which means, of course, it's Destin Connection Day. He's from TiderInsider.com as well. We appreciate Scott Cross joining us from Troy Basketball. Always great quality from CJ Duncan as well. Don't be knuckleheads.
No.
If you don't have to, don't get out in this snow. We want to have you with us tomorrow on this program. For John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light.